Hello everybody, I'm Paula Kensington and welcome to CFO Conversations. Today I've got the great pleasure of talking with Sue Rosen. Sue is our ex-CFO and also now a leadership and coach entrepreneur. So welcome Sue, great to have you with me today.
Thanks Paula, it's great to be here on CFO Conversations, talking about the things that matter to people who are moving into the CFO role or thinking about that in their future. I am previously a CFO, I'm a chartered accountant by background, spent many years in corporate roles and have transitioned into an executive and leadership coaching role, working primarily with people in the finance space, helping them build what we've traditionally called the soft skills and helping them move forward in their careers and into becoming the leader they really want to be.
So what we're going to talk about today is around isolation, and I felt that this was a really key subject for myself as a CFO. When I got my first role as CFO 12 years ago, I was obviously very excited but quite nervous, and one of the first feelings I really felt overwhelmed by was the feeling of isolation. I can actually really physically remember that feeling of being on top of an iceberg and being in that really nice high position, being in the leadership role, but actually feeling very isolated and not having anyone around me. So I'm sure there'll be lots of people watching today that are going to feel the same. And I'd like to sort of just try and explore that a little bit together.
Yeah, excellent.
So as I say, when I got my first CFO role, I just felt that I didn't have all the answers, and I felt like the CEO was coming to me and I needed to have the answers and I didn't have them. So I just felt very vulnerable, and I guess I'd like to sort of explore that a bit further. I know you had very similar feelings.
Yep, that's right. When I first headed up a finance team, it was a small finance team, but we were hurtling towards an IPO and I'd never been through an IPO before. And it was a scary, it was a scary experience in the sense that I think we all put a lot of burden on ourselves to be the person with all the answers. And I think for me, one of the learnings was that nobody has all the answers.
Yeah.
And there will always be new things in your career, and it's about building the right support networks. In a subsequent role, when I moved into a new industry, I joined a CFO group for the private equity industry, and that made a huge difference to me.
Yeah.
So what strategies did you use, Paula?
Yeah, so something similar. I reached out to a couple of people in the finance world, and we actually started up a CFO group at that time. So again, that was 12 years ago, and it feels like that was quite a long time ago for a CFO network to start up. But I think, and that's what I did to make me feel better at the time. I think your point is really really key, is around not having the answers and giving yourself permission to not have all the answers. I think is really important. But I guess I think if I look back now, what would I do differently? It's around building that brains trust within the organisation. So there's lots of people that you would have dealt with, that you would have worked with along your way to that pathway of CFO. Building up that brains trust internally, but as you say, getting that external network is really important. So you've got that safe place where you can share challenges, because other CFOs have been through exactly the same thing. This is not a new problem.
Something that concerned me at the time was the idea that I would be breaching confidentiality if I went out and spoke to other CFOs. But what I found subsequently is talking to other people who have the same ethics, the same training, in terms of it's not about sharing commercially sensitive information, but it is about having an understanding about how other people operate and opening yourself up to that vulnerability. And I think when you first move into that senior role, that's one of the things that's most challenging. And one of the most helpful things can be that's your own CFO network, but also either coaching or mentoring, so that you have those safe spaces in which to have conversations.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think if you're thinking about how to get across that challenge now, it's about investing proactively in yourself, like you say, thinking before you get to the stage of feeling isolated. Perhaps you're on your way up to a CFO role, start building those networks, start building those spheres of influence now, so that when you get there, you're not feeling isolated. I think that's key.
Yep, absolutely, I would agree, Paula.
Great, thanks Sue.